So you guys right now are currently processing about 300 to 400 calls per day through the AI. When you first heard that this was possible, did you guys believe it?
I
was
was yeah, a little skeptical, right?
Yeah.
So if you could kind of just kick us off, could you tell me a little bit about the practice, like how many locations you guys have? What do you guys do?
We are an oral surgery practice and we have 4 locations, and currently we have 5 doctors, 5 oral surgeons.
Awesome. And how long have we been working together, Lisa?
I have been here going on 11 years.
Okay. There we go. Let's go, Lisa. I was saying, how long have we been working together? Like you and I?
Okay. Oh gosh, let's see, close to a year now.
It's a little under that, I think, right? Because we started in, I want to say October, November.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been about what, like 6 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
About 6 months.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So what's up, Kathy? How are we doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. So before implementing AI at Maryland Center, could you walk us through kind of what your phone operations looked like? How many operators did you guys have, and like what did that really look like?
Sure. So prior to the AI, we did have, well, I think we have 2 operators at the time. And then, of course, the separate call center, the operators would try to answer as many calls as they could. I know it was overwhelming because we would be getting calls while they're on call with a patient, trying to direct them to either the call center or the correct department. So it was at that time, we were having a hard time keeping up with the volume of calls and being able to accurately disperse them to the correct departments and help those patients.
Yeah, 100%. Did you guys see any issues with the staff, like inconsistency, or what else was coming up for them?
I mean, most of the time they were usually pretty good. I know it was harder because if they were transferring calls, sometimes they didn't know what calls were coming to those staff members. And again, I think just trying to keep up with the volume was just not something that we were able to do.
The problem with like as Kathy said, with keeping up with the call volume was we did have the calls, if they went unanswered by the operator, then messages were left. So then that then took one of the operators off the phones to then listen to all of the messages, write them out, and then disperse those messages. So by that time, once that was done, then they had more messages coming in. So it was just
Right.
kind of a vicious cycle of trying to keep up with all of those messages that were being left. As soon as they would be cleared out, more would be coming through.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. It's really
Yes.
tough to manage that kind of volume in the practice. So, and you guys had 3 people there at the peak.
At least I think it was just 2 people being the operator. Is that correct?
There was 3 operators, and then it did reduce down to 2.
But one point of clarification though is there's the 3 operators that were directing all the calls, but then there was also how many staff were there at that point, Lisa, for the actual call center?
At that point, I believe there was 7 or 8 people in the call center.
So basically 11 staff in total
Correct.
to
Yes.
handle the phones.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so how many are we at now?
We have 6 in the call center now.
Okay. Okay. So in total net, we were able to reduce the amount of employees required at the call center by 5, almost half.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's a fair statement.
Okay. So before these 5 full-time employees that you guys had working in the call center, what was this costing the practice in terms of salary?
2280 times 5. I mean, ballpark 200,000.
Okay. So you guys were able to reduce the payroll by $200,000 essentially by using AI.
Yeah, I mean, if you're assuming $20 an hour, 2,080 hours in a full-time job, that's 41,600 times 5 employees, you're at about 208, but like, let's just round down to 200 to play safe. So yeah, I'd say ballpark 200,000. And that does not include tax liability benefits. That is
Right.
their pay. So there's always that additive component as well, because we do offer benefits to the full-time employees. So it would be more than $200,000.
Yeah, 100%. And so now that you guys don't have these extra people and you guys do have AI, what does the process look like now when you guys get calls into the practice? Now that you have the AI handling the call routing, the after hours calls, like what has really changed?
I mean, I think it's been working really well as far as, one, being able to answer all incoming calls. And the system that you have set up now with us being able to access that website, the AI website, and we get the email so that we can quickly see the message. We don't have to take the time to listen to a message. We can send those and route those out for people to call back, and we can send them to the correct departments, so that the patient, when they receive the call back, they are receiving the call back from the correct person that can help them, versus being very frustrated with being passed around from person to person, or being put in a queue because they are on hold and it never gets picked up. So
Right.
at least what I'm seeing, it has really helped. And again, that system that you have set up for us is, I think it's really wonderful to be able to read those messages. We can listen to those messages, and that's really helpful. We get the full name of the patient, we get the date of birth, we get the description of their call, and that's really helpful when you're making a call back to a patient.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible. Lisa, you want to weigh in on that?
Yes, the other thing that's been very helpful, as Kathy was saying, in receiving the emails, is that I'm also able to see and prioritize some of the calls that I need somebody to call back. Some of the messages maybe are just a patient that needs to schedule an appointment, whereas another message might be left that the patient is having trouble. They're at the pharmacy right now and they're waiting for their prescription to be filled. So those types of calls, I can get those taken care of right away, rather than if we were just listening to these messages and taking so long to then passing those messages out. Far too much time would have passed in order to effectively and quickly help the patients that are either having an emergency type situation, whereas they may be having trouble after their surgery, they may have excessive bleeding, that type of thing, and or trouble with their prescription, so that we can quickly help them and not delay in answering what they need help with.
Right. Right. Since AI can interpret every single call, it can prioritize certain calls where humans need to be involved faster rather than later.
Yes. Yep.
Right. So you guys right now are currently processing about 300 or 400 calls per day through the AI. When you first heard that this was possible, did you guys believe it?
I was skeptical.
Yeah, a little skeptical, right?
Yeah, I wanted to believe, but the function, I think my biggest concern with going over to an AI system is, one of my biggest pet peeves in just my day-to-day personal life is when you have to call the bank or something like this, and or frankly, within this job, trying to deal with insurance, and you're getting put through all these different things, bounced around, and it's some robotic voice, and you're just like screaming, operator, please, trying to press 0 repeatedly to get through or something. And what impressed upon me the most is that it's the most pleasant to interact AI that I've personally interacted with, because it does sound better, it interacts with the patients better. There's always going to be people who still want to talk to a particular person, but I think that the way in which it's able to interact and handle those patient interactions is, a whole nother tier above in terms of quality, in terms of what I've been exposed to in my own personal life.
Yeah, 100%. Does that
Yeah.
anybody else want to weigh on that?
Well, I wanted to just also speak about how anytime that we needed to have things tweaked a little bit to be more helpful, or additional information that we may need to have added, you and your team just is so, immediately helping get that corrected. We just send a message in through your app, and you just jump on it right away to get that corrected. We've had some, issues where we have needed help to get something done right away, and you and your team just immediately jump right on top of that and get that fixed for us. So that's been really great also, how quickly your team acts.
Yeah, Lisa,
Yeah.
you're exactly right. I remember that one time with the snow,
Yep.
they were
Yes.
able to
That's exactly what I was
update that
thinking of.
message
Mhm.
for us so quickly, and it was so necessary and so helpful that was able to be done so quickly.
Yeah, I remember that. You guys were like, hey, we need to totally change everything in the way that
Yes.
the AI answers the calls. And we were like, we got you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. So I want to touch on this a little bit in terms of using the AI and eliminating the operator call center that you guys had, and the other people that were kind of just extras within the practice, and really trimming it down. What has this really meant for the practice financially?
Well, I mean, you have to look at it from two sides. There's the most straightforward, which is the, payroll reductions in terms of reducing staff. So there's the cost benefit analysis to be made there. If you're able to reduce payroll by more than what you're paying for the service, that's one component of it. But then the other part of it is, it's not that we just traded, these employees for the AI and that was, a flat transfer. We're able to take in more information and successfully process it. There's fewer mistakes, things are going to the right place. And that is a bit more difficult to quantify, but it's the combination of the straightforward payroll reductions combined with being able to answer more calls, more leads, more appointments, fewer misroutings. Overall patient satisfaction seems to be higher overall. So there's also these harder to quantify aspects of it that have been directly beneficial to the practice that do impact it financially. Patient satisfaction on the phone is a strong indicator of patient satisfaction at treatment and throughout the rest of the process. So you really are setting the stage for, in a perfect world, an enjoyable and ultimately therapeutic experience for the patient. So I think this does help with that a lot and allows us to offer a higher quality of care and be more transparent with things like scheduling and availability and just being able to field all these calls and because ultimately people want to be heard. That's why they're calling in. They want to speak to somebody. And if they can't, at least their messages are able to be properly responded to in a timely manner, which I know means a lot to them that they can get in contact with us easier. So it's kind of removed those barriers between the patients and the practice and made that a more seamless interaction.
Mhm.
Absolutely. 100%. Kathy, did you want to add?
No, I agree with him. I think those are all very good, correct statements. It is hard to put a ballpark number on how it has helped us in so many ways, as far as being able to get the accurate information for each patient, make sure each patient call is answered and we're getting that information and we can call them back versus losing that call because it is just going around and around in our queue.
Yeah. And one more point that's also worth noting, and again, this is something that's harder to quantify, but I still think it's important to put this on the record. Having the AI system is going to make it possible for us to greatly expand the overall size of the practice in terms of the number of providers we're going to have. Under the traditional model previously, if we were to bring on 3 or 4 new doctors, that would mean hiring another operator or 2, another staff member or 2. So the scalability of it is also something that's really valuable to the practice. It facilitates us to expand without necessarily having to bring on a bunch of new staff to accommodate that. We can get more done with the personnel that we have. So there's that amplification of our ability that's very valuable.
Right. Yeah, 100%. That's what I always say is that what AI really helps with on top of everything else is the revenue per person in the practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of volume that a single person can handle is increased by using AI, right? So super, super important, super important. And I'm excited for you guys. Like as we move into fee for service and introduce these new aspects of the practice, keeping AI in touch with what's going on and making necessary adjustments is definitely, I'd hope, going to help you guys to keep everything streamlined and organized and really allow you guys to continue growing.
Yeah.
We've got a bright future ahead of us.
Yeah, 100%. So Lisa, I want to hear from you since you're in charge of the call center. What kind of feedback have you been getting from the patients? Like, what have they said about the patient experience with the AI?
Mostly it's all very good. Some people do say, I wanted to talk to a human. There is, some of that, which is just natural for just across the board. You are going to get that. But for the most part, people have said, that Ava is very pleasant, was effective, and they, all of the information was taken, the correct questions were asked. Ava's able to spell the names back, date of birth, and just some of the information that is taken from the patients that we receive in the emails is quite extensive, which has surprised me on some of the messages that I do get. But I personally have not had any negative comments made about the AI system, and people just feel that it's just been effective. And of course, always like not having to, like Kathy has mentioned, just be in that queue, holding and then hanging up and calling back and being in that queue again, but being helped right away. And then their calls are returned quite quickly also by our staff. So there's not it isn't as if a day passes by. It's usually within the hour or half hour that we are then calling those patients back.
Mhm.
So I personally have not had negative comments, but just positive. And a lot of people say that they can tell that it's AI, and they have been impressed by the effectiveness of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, that's great to hear. Some people, they can't tell it's AI, and then some people who
Yes.
do, they recognize the quality of it as well, which is great.
Yes, I have had people say, I spoke to somebody named Ava in your office. So they honestly don't even know that it was AI. They think that there is an employee here named Ava. So
I love it. I love
yeah.
it. That's great. Okay, so for you guys, I guess overall, I'd love to hear from each of you. What would you say to another multi-location practice that's not sure if they should use AI or is maybe still relying on a traditional phone system?
I mean, I would say you would be crazy not to try it. It is, I know that it can be scary and you may think that it's not going to work, but once you're able to set up your own specifications for how you want it to work, it will work. I know we all kind of were a little leery in the beginning as well, but again, it has been very successful for us. I don't know how we would have continued truly without it and been able to help patients. And I feel like we're doing a better job now than we were doing previously, which is the goal, to help every single patient and make sure that every patient is able to speak with someone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think something that's important for, prospective new customers to understand with this particular product is it is not necessarily just, you exchange the monthly fee and then the service works right off the bat, because you get what you put into it. You have to put the time in with structuring it and how you want things to flow. And, there were some moments in the beginning where we had to move things around and change things, and there is a bit that goes on with that. But the working relationship that's been established with, Clinic Lab has been nothing but positive, as we've talked about previously. And so I wouldn't even say this is a caution, but just to make sure that people go into it with the right understanding. If you're willing to put in the effort to collaborate and work and have it designed in a way that fits your unique practice needs, it will meet and exceed those expectations. But if you're thinking that it's just, oh, I pay a monthly subscription and then everything just works right off the bat, you do have to put that effort in. But it's a rewarding experience, and you honestly glean a lot of insights into how your actual practice is functioning. And frankly, on the other side of it, you learn that there's a lot of sort of lost potential under the status quo that you're able to recapture under, an AI framework in terms of patient satisfaction, being able to get these patients connected to the right people. There's a lot that kind of goes unnoticed that you are slowly bleeding on what could have been potential revenue, potential patients, and potential referral relationships as well. So, it requires effort, but it's rewarding and definitely worth the investment in both time and in terms of the monetary capacity as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the other thing I would like to add is that Ava never calls out sick.
That's a great one, Lisa. I love that
It
one.
does not.
Well, it's true. It's why we had to have so many people in the call center to begin with, is because people call out and then you're down a man, but you're never really down with the AI. There's been no real disruptions that I can even recall in the time that we've been using the service where it's been quote unquote down. I don't think that's even happened to my recollection.
Oh, yeah.
So
Never.
Ava is here every day.
Working
Yeah.
day and night.
day and night.
Perfect attendance.
No overtime.
Nope. Well, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives on everything. It's really been amazing working with all of you, and I'm looking forward to a very long-lasting relationship with Maryland Center and the rest of you guys, for sure.
Of course.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Thank you,
Thank
Sebastian.
you.
Appreciate
Have
it.
a good day.
All right,
All
thanks,
right.
guys. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.